Who's that coming down the track? It's a mean machine in red and white. Ain't nothing finer in the land than a drunk, obnoxious Georgia man. Go, go!
What's up, y'all? This is John and Mike back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. We're on Fans First Sports Network and as part of Millions, but we got a lot we're getting into. We're finally getting back in the swing of recording regularly. Hopefully, y'all listen to our pre-second round of the draft takes. I will say that's pretty fucking accurate.
Yeah.
Especially for my offensive line takes. I did say Tate, maybe Lions, please no. Turns out the Lions thought the same thing except for please yes.
They traded up to get him too. They traded up 3 spots.
Which I did think he would do well there. I just wanted you to be in pain specifically.
Well, when he oh yeah, I remember. When I listened back, when gets hurt on the field like everyone else at home.
And then Dylan Fairchild to Cincinnati. I think that was the place I was most excited for him to go.
Yeah.
And then, just everybody else throughout the night or throughout the few days. We're gonna get to everybody else. But I've got a decent bit to talk about how I've been over the last few days. How have you been? It's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it has been a bit. Grad school kind of got crazy the last 2 weeks or so, but I'm officially turning the last assignment for the semester yesterday, so I'm good for a couple of weeks until the summer starts.
Hell yeah, you're ours now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so freeing. So freeing. Like the last 2 projects kicked my ass. I legit took like 3 days straight working like 12 hours on them. So like it was wait till the last minute, but I got it done, so it's all good. Now, but my wife's brother and his wife came down for about a week and a half or so, and they just went home the other day, but kind of hung out and did kind of some touristy things around Savannah and Tybee and stuff, so that was nice. But how about you?
Yeah, man. Over the last few days, since the last time I recorded, I have attempted to do nothing because of the amount of yard work I did last weekend. And specifically what I was going to do today, which is leave my house at 5:30, play in 2 disc golf tournaments where I walked a total of, hold on, I'm pulling it up here, 10 miles on a Sunday.
Good Lord.
Played in 2 tournaments, like I said, 10 total miles. And just overall make myself miserable for the week ahead, because why would we do it on Saturday where we have a day to recuperate before work? We didn't do it on Sunday. And then I committed myself to helping a friend build a fence this week, so I just I think I have a deep-seated hatred for myself somewhere.
I muted myself, but with disc golf stuff, playing the tournament on a Sunday, are you like a veteran young guy there? Like, are you one of the older guys there at that point? Because that's definitely like somebody in their like early mid 20s thing doing shit on Sundays. Absolutely not. I can't even imagine going out on a Sunday night before like a work week.
All right, so of the people, I was one of 4 people that played 2 tournaments today. Most people did not. There were 60 people in the tournament this morning and 30 people in the one this afternoon. Only 4 of us played both.
Doubleheader.
Right. I was the youngest person to play in both.
Okay.
We'll say that. But still, 22,000 steps and 10 total miles. Also, because the tournament this morning was on an old ball golf course, 5 floors of elevation change.
Good Lord.
It was a lot. And then, like I said, I committed to helping my friend build a fence after work this week. Um, so basically, you all just learned how much I hate myself.
Apparently.
I actually think it's more of I like my friends and can't really say no. Um, and then, y'all just for those of you who are listening and know my wife, her birthday is on Thursday. So,
Happy early birthday, Kelsey. What up?
yes, we may or may not be recording on Thursday. I would lean towards probably not because it is a pretty big birthday. Starts with three, ends with a zero. I'm not gonna say what year it is. Um, but as I'm just gonna try to be there for her after work, for a potential emotional breakdown. If you're married, you understand. And then all day Friday, all day Saturday, half the day Sunday, is hers.
There you go.
So, you know,
I gotta
hopefully,
say it's gotta be better than my 30th birthday. It was the first week of a COVID shutdown for my 30th. So
hell yeah, dude.
oh, I mean, I
Honestly,
got shitty every fucking day for like a week. It was great, but
I will be
yeah.
honest. If you told me that for my 30th birthday, which will be in December of this year, I could have friends over at my house every day for a week straight, and we could just have a bonfire and get fucked up and eat food. That's perfect. Like I don't need anything else.
Yeah, it was pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Like, oh, I have a friend over. We're eating barbecue and getting drunk by a bonfire. Oh no, that's not like oh shit. That's the word. That's actually a dream. I don't know what
I
you're
got
talking
I
about.
got I got drunk in Facebook Live, me and Stanley playing cornhole and took bets on it.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
honest.
Did you
It was
win?
good. It was a good. It was a good time. Oh, of course. I mean,
Okay.
I had a few drinks. Like sober me, no, Stanley would win. But yeah,
I
any
s-
other
w-
version,
I
I'm a
don't know,
king.
man. I think modern Stanley still might beat your ass.
N- no, 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 no.
What about modern Stanley after two beers?
He might. Oh, he no. After that, possibly.
All
Yeah.
right. Just to clarify, we're not giving Stanley beer to play cornhole.
No, that would be very irresponsible. Why would I want to do that?
It would be fun, but we're not going to do it. Um, but yeah, no, the draft was this weekend. Georgia also had a hell of a baseball weekend. We are going to get to it, but let's go ahead and get into the draft here. So Georgia had a relative down year for the draft and still managed to lead the SEC with a total of 13 picks, one ahead of Texas with 12. Georgia ahead of Texas in the SEC. Who'd have thought? It's almost like it's
It's meant to
commonplace
be
at this point.
another common Georgia W. Indeed.
But the SEC had the most draft picks with 79, which, if I'm not mistaken, broke the last SEC record of most draft picks.
It could be. I'm not positive about that. I didn't see that, but that wouldn't be shocking.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain. I will look it up. Um,
Well, and you have two more schools too, so that would make sense.
yes, and as as much as I don't why I think my Facebook um I think my Facebook algorithm reset recently because I just looked up SEC and it goes, "Are you looking for Securities and Exchange Commission?"
The SEC won't let us be.
Uh, No, my
No.
brother in Christ, you know me. I am not in any way, shape, or form looking for the Securities and Exchange Commission.
No, I would rather not see them at all, but that's just me.
Um, yeah, but so I am fairly certain that the SEC went Yeah. So according to the SEC network, they broke their own record of most players drafted in a single draft again. I'm fairly certain this is like the fifth year in a row they've broken that record.
And I think it's the 18th consecutive year that the SEC led conferences and draft picks, I believe. I think every year since 2005
I
or
think I,
2007.
I think you are correct. One thing that I would like to point out about this draft and having the most draft picks again is while the transfer portal has creates parity, the problem is these five stars that go to SEC programs and sit and then transfer to Tulane just go to another SEC program for their senior season.
It works out for you.
So so at the end of the day, they're still getting drafted from an SEC school.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll try to breeze past that. The Big Ten did come in second with two additional teams, 18 total. 71 draft picks through 18 teams is slightly worse than 79 draft picks through 16 teams. Um,
Yeah, an average
and
many, yeah.
so the most important stat of the weekend by far of the 2021 University of Georgia football team, 31 of the 36 or 7, depending on where you look, Georgia players that played significant snaps in the 2021 season were drafted. Um, why that is important is that is the highest percentage of players drafted off of a single team in the history of college football.
Dynasty in the making, or should be at least, but just
Dynasty
incredible,
in the
incredible job
make.
in the make.
Dynasty in
Done.
the made.
Have been knocked off yet, as far as I'm concerned.
Hell yeah. Um, Another stat about this past draft: Kirby has more first round picks than he does losses at UGA, and that is including a 7-6 first year.
Yeah. Really, really incredible job by him. Hopefully that can continue going on for a little bit longer.
Yeah,
Preferably no.
yeah, yeah. No, like I hope that I already have Alzheimer's by the time he leaves. With the amount of head injuries I have, who knows? But we're hoping.
Yeah.
I will say it was just starting off the draft. It was just a couple of shocks on day one. Michael Williams went 11th overall to the 49ers. He was projected to go behind Jalen Walker at a minimum, and he was the first Georgia player off the board.
There were some talks that like Mike Howell would fall into like the 20s, which I never thought was a realistic possibility, but I
no.
was hoping so for the Lions' sake, but I think they did plenty fine in my book. So I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
And here's the thing about the 49ers drafting Michael. What is the one thing that you can say the 49ers have done extremely well over the last 5 years or so?
Getting a pass rush, you got Nick Bosa on the other side or whatever Bosa's there.
Right. You have. So the team that drafted Nick Bosa, I'm pretty sure Nick Bosa is the one that sat out for a year before getting drafted, or like half of a year from an injury.
He's the second Bosa boy, right? Joey
All
was
right,
before
so
that. I
so
think I
sat
can't
out at
remember.
least half of a season
Yeah.
from an injury.
Mm-hmm.
They drafted him, who is currently a top 10 at minimum pass rusher in the NFL, and they said, "Hey, this Mikel guy, he's worth first round pick. I'd trust that."
Oh, for sure.
There's certain
He could
teams in the
be.
NFL that you trust with positions they pick more than any other team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, linebackers, edges, things like that. The Niners definitely do a good job evaluating with the.
So we have Michael being the first player off the board, 11th overall to the 49ers to go on the opposite side of the defensive line of Nick Bosa. Um, although If we're talking about the Niners specifically, maybe not the best pick because their defense was not the problem last year. That's not what we're talking about.
Not having Christian McCaffrey is a big problem too. But
And having Brock Purdy in his third year also didn't help because the 49ers, when their quarterback's in the third year, they suck. It just,
wheels fall off.
yep. But the most shocking thing that happened through 7 rounds of the NFL draft. Mike, who did the Falcons take with their first round pick?
I'm sure it was some guy like FCS,
Was it
Edge,
Montana
or something
State's
like that.
quarterback slash linebacker?
Yeah, had to
Oh,
be something
okay.
like that,
All
right?
right. All right. We're cool. Nothing surprising happened.
No, they did the unthinkable. They actually drafted a Georgia player in the first round, or just at all, period. And Jalen Walker at that.
All right. So I'm not sure how many people saw this. Do you know the second highest drafted Georgia player by the Falcons after Jalen Walker?
Ever?
Yes.
Was it DJ Shockley?
No. It was Charlie Warner's dad in 1980 something.
Had to be like 82,
I think it was
83,
81,
maybe.
82, something around
Yeah.
there. Yeah, I think it was
He was
81,
on the
82,
yeah.
but it was late 20s. He was late 20 pick. Um,
Wow. Okay.
but it went from Herschel Walker's time at the University of Georgia, where they took Charlie Warner's dad, and then, skip ahead 43 plus years. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll take the best linebacker of the entire draft. I know that's arguably a very biased take. Go look at all the draft analysts and sports talk pundits and SEC pundits that said Jalen Walker is more versatile and dominating than Abdul Carter. Because we can
I would
have an
agree.
argument about it,
Yeah.
but you're going to lose.
One thing I do like about Abdul Carter, and I don't know if it's actually a positive or not, but the fact that he had the nerve to ask uh Lawrence Taylor for number 56 and for the Giants is the balls on that guy. He said no, he got denied, as he should have, but
You
the
know
balls
what?
on him is pretty crazy.
Cam Ward didn't have to ask Warren Moon for number one. Cam
Well, I mean,
Ward
stuff should
did.
belong to the Texans, but yeah,
I,
all the
I,
history should belong to them. But yeah,
right. So we're talking about a distressed franchise. Warren Moon played for 2 cities. He had a lot going on in this decision, and he's like, Cam Ward is that guy. He can have whatever number he wants. I'd be
that's a
willing
good
to
sign.
bet. I would be willing to bet Jalen Carter could have got 56 if he wanted it. I'm saying.
I don't think Lawrence Taylor would have given to anybody.
I think he. Mm, I just. I don't. Man, Abdul Carter doesn't. He doesn't impress me.
I mean, he's fine, but
He's
top 5 pick, I don't know about that.
right. Like, had he gone. If he and Jalen swap places, I 100%. Like, yeah, that's fine.
Mhm.
Man, being top 5 and having a legitimately unimpressive career outside of 4 games. Like, okay, what? If we're being entirely honest with each other, Trayvon Walker did not deserve to be the number one overall pick.
No, I'm glad that he was because Detroit got Aiden Hutchinson. But yeah,
Right, Aiden Hutchinson should have been the number one overall pick. But let's put it like this: put you in a little bit of a brain teaser here. slight dip in production, but no injuries, do you take Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson with the run that Detroit had last year? No injuries. As in, like,
If
no
I was
injuries
Jacksonville,
to that player. Like,
I
Aiden
was
goes to Jacksonville, Trayvon goes to Detroit, but his knee is in one piece in that playoff run.
ooh. You know what? If that was the only injury that Detroit had, absolutely. But they were.
And
I mean,
that's
the
the
defense
thing.
is all practice squad at that point.
But at the same time, if Aiden hadn't gotten hurt and everybody else hadn't had to play that much harder, would they have gotten hurt? That, like,
Right.
there's a million what ifs that you can have for a single NFL season, but like for that specific one, I think you can get a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Um, right. So we got to get into some draft picks here. I know I'm the one that's gotten us off on way too much of a tangent. Malachi Starks going 27th overall to Baltimore.
Incredible pick. Incredible.
All right, serious question here. Did I talk about that, or did I just mention Baltimore with half of the other guys?
I think you mentioned them with half of the other guys. I
Okay.
think
All
I
right.
could be wrong.
That's a serious question here because I talked about like 10 guys with 20 different teams. I don't remember past Tate Tate and Dylan of
Yeah.
specific teams I talked about. But for as much shit as I give Notre Dame players and Notre Dame team, Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton being the safeties for Baltimore with Roquan and Marlon Humphreys as the inside linebackers.
It's sick.
Nobody is throwing over the middle of that defense. No one's capable of it. I don't care
Right.
who you are or why you're throwing over the middle of that defense. You're not doing it.
I'm sure Lamar Jackson will find a way to choke in the playoffs, but
Right.
it's not gonna be the defense's fault.
Once again, for like the fifth year in a row, when Baltimore does not make it to a Super Bowl, it's not the defense's fault.
No.
Like last year was Mark Andrews.
Yep.
Shout out potential quasi SEC player Mark Andrews.
Yeah. SEC adjacent.
Yeah.
Dude, SEC story down him.
But yeah, no, I just, man, the Ravens are one of those teams that always draft well and then find a way to screw it up.
Yeah,
Which,
like every time they take somebody, they're like, you know what, that's such a good Ravens pick, the smartest team in the room. Like, and that's even without Ozzie Newsome or whoever their GM was before.
it's one of those things of, it confuses me so much because they have the team, they have the coaches, they have the management, they have the players. How do they have 0 Super Bowls and 2 MVPs with Lamar?
I think I mean if they played in the NFC, they would have got to multiple Super Bowls, I'm sure. But going through Kansas City and Buffalo and teams like that make it in New England
And,
for a little bit of that. It's
and
tough.
to be fair, I think they've made over the last 4 years. I'm pretty sure Lamar has been injured in 2 playoff runs.
Yeah.
You can't ask Lamar to be Lamar without being 100% Lamar.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, we'll give you guys a break. You got 1 year to prove us wrong. If it comes up to next year's draft and you guys suck again, I want nobody to go to Baltimore.
Free
Very
Roquan, free
anti-purple. I already don't like the Vikings. Don't get on that damn list.
yeah, free Malachi and Roquan if that were the case. Hopefully not. Hopefully they can do some damage in the AFC.
Speaking of free a guy and hope he doesn't play there for very long, offensive guard Tate Ratledge. He was taken in the second round, 57th overall pick by Detroit. And the Lions did trade up for Tate.
They gave up a decent amount, moved up 3 spots, and then traded, I think, another day 2 pick, I think.
Yes.
Like there was some movement there. They thought enough of him to give up that haul just to move up 3 spots.
If I am being honest, I love the pick for the team build. I do not like it because it's Detroit.
That is the nicest thing that you could say. I'm going to take that as a glowing like A+ grade for them.
And it is because I mean you of all people know my 100% raw and unfiltered thoughts about Tate Ratledge and the way he plays, and
Mhm.
there are very few other teams in the NFL that fit his play style better than the Lions
Dan
because
Campbell getting all these dogs, there's going to be a problem for everybody else.
Dan Campbell is like all in on red or all in on black on every play.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell is the kind of guy that, you know what, we will save that thought. We will save that thought because in the seventh round,
Yep.
I have a lot of thoughts about Dan Campbell's play style with certain Georgia players. All right.
Okay. Okay.
So Dylan Fairchild getting taken in the third round, 81st overall by Cincinnati Bengals. Joins Amarius Mims on the offensive line. Two thoughts about this pick. I think Dylan Fairchild in the Cincinnati offense is a top 5 best fit of players taken in this draft.
Okay.
Uh, y'all know by now, if you listen for one season, 2 seasons, I am extremely high on Dylan Fairchild and his ability. The fact that he was a state champion wrestler in high school, the fact that he has the right body type and hand movement naturally of the type of offensive lineman that can do very well in an offense that runs and more importantly scrambles.
Hmm.
I think should you have flipped Tate and Dylan, they would not do near as well as they would have in the spots they were drafted. Because
Yeah.
Dylan has the hand quickness and foot movement of a guy that can protect a Joe Burrow.
Hmm.
Tate has the meanness and aggression to protect for name slipping my mind right now.
Jared Goff,
Jared Goff.
a literal statue in the pocket.
Right. Like Tate will protect Jared Goff while simultaneously creating rushing lanes. Like I think the
Yeah.
aggression difference between the two in the way that they pursue it is the reason they're going to do so well in their different positions.
Hmm.
I am extremely high on Dylan Fairchild and the Bengals.
I think when you were talking with Caleb the other day about this, I don't know if this was one of the guys that you said that you thought he can make, maybe not necessarily win a bunch, but make a bunch of money. He's not going to make money in Cincinnati. They already gave it all to Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. But besides that, they just don't pay people. So
So,
he's one of those that'll be there for like 4 years and then go somewhere else, I'm sure.
are you telling me that with the paychecks they gave those four guys and the way they've drafted over the last few years and potentially next year, they can't win a ring? Because I'm really high on
Hmm.
Cincinnati with all right, wildly, wildly odd take, and
Okay.
maybe not because of the players involved in each. 2024 and 2025 Cincinnati Bengals are 2023 and 2024 LSU Tigers. You have the
Yeah, I can see
offense,
that. Yeah.
you have the offensive line, you have the quarterback, you have the wide receivers, you have the running backs, you have everything on the offensive side of the ball to win a Super Bowl. If your defense was 10% better, you'd have done it.
And they want to trade that one of their top defensive ends in the
Yep.
league because they've alienated him. So yeah, I
Yep.
mean you're going all in on offense, so it might as well have taken a guard there to help protect Joe Burrow.
Man, I hope Lincoln's ready for another Bengals Ravens Super Bowl. that is a deep, deep cut inside joke. But
I don't know what he would do.
I hope that's the kind of year we're in store for.
If Detroit doesn't make it this year, it's never going to happen. So y'all can listen to me break down, I'm sure, later on about that. Actually, it should have been last year because with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn being on the team still, coordinator wise. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Yep, it is.
My window maybe is closed.
All right, next pick, Jared Wilson, being picked third round, 95th overall by the Patriots. Jared was the first center taken in the draft. It is wild that we've gotten to a point where you are getting almost to the 100th pick of the draft before you take a center. But
It's important too. Like that's another one with like a lot of running backs too. Is like people can fill in for it, but I would think that you'd want a killer center, man.
and not only that, but a team like New England, who went from David Andrews for almost 20 years to garbage center play until they're like, hey guys, Georgia's good at this offensive line thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should try them again.
David Andrews, another damn good dog. They just need a
Yes.
dog at center. That's all they need.
But Jared Wilson is the first center drafted by New England since 2018 when they took Isaiah Wynn and Sony Michel.
First dog,
Um,
first dog taken by New England.
yes. Is that what I
No,
said something
you're
wrong?
like no the first center.
Yep. Opposite. First
Oh,
Georgia player by New England. They did get a little burned by Malcolm Mitchell and his weak forearm. Sorry, Malcolm. Um,
you got a Super Bowl out of him.
uh, if catching 4 passes is all it took for a Super Bowl ring, Kansas City, I got 4 catches for you.
I thought Sony should have won the MVP that one year that he was on there getting significant snaps. But that's again yet
He
another
was the
story.
only player that scored a super or touchdown in
Yeah.
that Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I illegally streamed that shit while I was in a third world country, and that was the only touchdown I got to see. I was not happy.
Yeah, that Super Bowl was awful.
It was.
Jared Goff can score.
But I honestly the New England Patriots over the last couple of years have been so terrible. I don't know their offense well enough to know if Jared Wilson's play style fits.
Yeah.
But I will say his athleticism mixed with Drake May's athleticism should combine well because Jared Wilson is if you're going off of stereotypical size centers, he is smaller. He is leaner. He is more athletic. He should be able to protect a smaller, leaner, more athletic quarterback. I don't know enough.
Same. And there wasn't a whole lot of New England watching last year.
There wasn't a whole lot of New England offense last year.
No. They tried to fix it, but we'll see.
Speaking of a team trying to fix their offense, Arian Smith was taken by the Jets in the 4th round, 110th overall. Shocking. And I don't mean that negatively towards the Jets or Arian, if I'm being entirely honest. He's first dog taken on day 3. Here's the problem. Why, as a team with no quarterback, are you taking wide receivers? Why?
Hard to catch the ball if you can't get it thrown to you.
Yeah, why is a team with no quarterback are you taking wide receivers that can't catch?
Because of the Jets.
I don't. And to me, if I'm being entirely honest, Arian Smith is the type of player who is going to play 3 years for the Jets, return punts and kicks occasionally, and do so well that he signs a 2-year, $10 million deal with Kansas City and then scores 2 game-winning, Super Bowl-winning touchdowns because he can just outrun every single human being on the football field.
Yeah.
And
They haven't had that
suddenly
since Tyreek.
everybody's like, is Arian Smith a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL? And I was like,
There would be nothing more that I would love than for that to actually happen.
and
That'd be
it's like,
great.
Arian Smith would have actually been a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL should he have had the hands to go with his legs
Hmm.
in 2025.
Indeed. Absolutely.
Um, I hope the best for him. I and this is going to mean a lot to you. I would actually rather him have that same career trajectory with the Lions and the Chiefs,
Yeah. This
and
the
that
Jets are
includes
where
winning 2 Super Bowls with the Lions over the
that
Chiefs.
would be incredible. I'll just take one.
Something that's never been seen before.
Literally. Yeah, when they first won their won a playoff game, not last season, but the season before that, that was the first time you could have texted about a Lions playoff win in human history. It's pretty cool.
That's wild. But something that we have probably already texted about in our lifetimes is an ETN being drafted. That's the next player we're talking about.
Yeah.
Trevor was drafted by the Panthers in the 4th round, 114th overall. As much as I wanted Trevor to go to Baltimore or Philly, he didn't. But
Mhm.
I don't care if this insults Panthers fans, if I'm being entirely honest. Um, he's paired up with Chuba Hubbard, aka Dollar Store Saquon or Derrick Henry.
Store
Um,
brand, yeah.
no, not store brand. We're talking Dollar Tree brand.
Worse.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Dollar Tree brand. Um, and it's not negative toward Chuba's future, just what he has done, which is next to nothing. Um,
A lot of
but
empty yards there. I had him on my fantasy team or one of my fantasy teams.
Trevor did manage to go 2-0 in Mercedes-Benz Stadium last season. So potentially going 2-0 again this year. Um, I'll be
Well,
honest. I think Carolina has a lot to prove on the offensive line before any of their skill talent gets truly evaluated.
yeah. Hmm.
Because last season they were awful on their offensive line, which how bad they were on their offensive line is why I said that Bryce Young would be borderline decapitated before a starter in the NFL.
Hmm.
Um, and what did he do? He just turned into a mobile quarterback, which shout out Bryce. Most people didn't think you'd survive this long in the NFL behind that line, but
No.
you did it, and that just proves your resiliency.
Hmm.
So if you can continue to do that, can't hurt, right?
No. Right.
Um, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins was the next guy off the board, taken by Minnesota in the 5th round, 139th overall. I, so I have very similar thoughts about Tyrion Ingram Dawkins as I do Warren Brinson. So
Mm.
not necessarily defense they're playing in or scheme or anything like that, but both of these guys are maulers in the middle that can rush the passer. I think they're
Mm.
much better at stopping the run. I think they're
Yeah.
much better with elite pass rushers beside of them.
Mm.
Um, and I think after Minnesota has let multiple guys go over the last few years, it's really a wait and see on how their edge and outside linebacker looks to determine on how Tyrion will do on the inside of that line.
Yeah, I mean they won 14 games last year. I'm sure they do need some help on that end. So I mean he's a 5th round pick at that point, especially you're just taking like lottery tickets on guys, just kind of
Yeah,
hoping that
you're
something sticks.
taking depth pieces at best,
Yeah.
flyers at worst. And that's going to kind of be everybody else we talk about. until we get to the second to last guy, because I have a lot of takes about the
Yeah.
second to last guy we're talking about as far as drafted players go. Um, Smile Munden, shocked he made it to the fifth round, 161st
Yeah.
overall. He's the sixth defensive dog taken by Philly since 2022. Um, I just exactly what I said on Thursday. Smile in the right defensive scheme and with the right linebacker partner is a harbinger of violence.
So I wonder how he would have played on the 2021 defense. Oh wait,
Yeah,
played a little bit there. So
yeah,
we know how this looks. It's gonna be good.
right. Like I truly wish the NFL as a whole realized, like, yes, Smile may have gotten hurt a couple of times over the last couple of years, and that's kind of why he didn't do what he did. But he played most every game in 2022, 2023, 2024. And what did Smile Munden do between those 3 seasons? He hurt people.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, he played defense really well. He stopped the run well. He covered running backs out of the backfield. He covered tight ends. He covered slot receivers. He hurt people.
It's what you like to see on defense.
And the Eagles, of all teams,
Mhm.
got a Georgia linebacker that specializes in causing pain.
That was a great fit. Great fit for him there in Philly for sure.
Yeah, like as a Lions fan, I'm sure it causes you pain.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
to know that that defense just got better.
Hmm.
But as a Georgia fan, you just kind of giggle in confusion on it's like, how did Howie Roseman figure out what nobody else seems to, even after it's publicly figured out what he is doing? He's like,
Yeah.
oh, Georgia player fits position we need, take him.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, the Lions GM kind of is starting to get that as well, albeit he did that later, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I
Yes.
think he's finally getting on that. It's like, hey, you know what, guys that come from winning programs that are used to winning and are and perform at those programs might be worth taking a flyer on and bringing them all back together on one squad.
Yeah. And the next player we're talking about is doing that to a lesser extent. Still in the NFC North. Defensive tackle and Savannah native, Warren Brinson. And I don't know if we've talked about this very much at all on the podcast, but in the Savannah area, Warren Brinson has done a lot for lower income communities in the area.
Yeah, he's
Last
loved
se-
for sure.
last summer, he spent a lot of NIL money, personal money, fundraising money, getting some lower income kids ready for the school year within the city of Savannah. And and a lot of people also don't know this about Warren. He was raised here, but did not go to high school here. So he hasn't lived in the city of Savannah for the better part of 10 years and is
Mm.
still doing his best to help the city. And if you spend a significant amount of time here, you realize how much help the lower income areas do truly need.
Yeah.
So it means a little bit more to you, especially guys that haven't been here in the better part of it, haven't lived here in the better part of a decade, that come back and spend time and money in the area. So we're big fans of Warren Brinson,
And he
regardless of
and
where
he,
he goes, regardless of what he does in the professional leagues, whether it's NFL, UFL. Huge fans of his.
yeah, he has a lot of family that still lives here as well. His I think his cousin goes to the school that I work at.
Yes.
So he does have family here still. So he comes back for that too.
But Warren Brinson, taken 198th overall by Green Bay, joins Javon Bullard, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, and never mind, Eric Stokes is
Yeah,
no
Eric
longer
Stokes.
on the Packers.
Oh, he's not?
No, he did not get extended last year, and I believe he's on
Yes.
a different team.
Let's go. Great move, Pack. Go, Pack, go.
All right, all right. To defend Green Bay here, he had two significant knee injuries in his first 3 seasons, and never really got to actually play.
Yeah. Green Bay is like Philly to a lesser extent, with them having taken a bunch of Georgia guys as well, especially the last couple years. So that's again cool to see. But it's harder for me to cheer for them with the Packers, rather than Philly.
It's fair. That's fair. Javon Bullard played a ton for Green Bay last year when he was healthy. Quay Walker played a ton for Green Bay last year when he wasn't suspended.
Stupid.
Devontae
Stupid.
Wyatt played a ton for Green Bay last year when he wasn't injured.
Yeah.
Green Bay takes the extreme Georgia players, I believe, up until this draft because Warren Brinson has never been the kind to consistently be injured or do some wild things on the football field, like push a doctor to the ground.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair to Quay, when he pushed that doctor to the ground, it was because it was one of his fellow Georgia players that had gotten hurt, and all he saw was someone run up to him. And he pushed the person that ran up to him when he was going to check on his boy to the ground. The person
I
that
didn't
ran up
realize
to
that.
him just happened to be a doctor for the opposing team.
Was that against the Lions? I feel like it
It
was.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't push my doctor.
You know what? He was protecting a Georgia player. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's a selfish choice. Good Lord. I don't know, man.
You're in a Rubik's Cube of a decision here.
I've never solved Rubik's Cube, so believe it or not.
I believe it. All right. So safety. Dirty Dan Jackson was taken 7th round by Detroit, 230th overall. And if you don't know how Dan Jackson's career at Georgia went, he was a walk-on player. And then he went to playing on special teams. Then he went to
he wasn't even a preferred walk-on. He in the Kirby and them didn't actually like recruit him at all. He just tried
he was
out.
a Candler type walk-on.
Yeah.
He was I don't care if you want me, I'm here and I will not quit type walk-on.
He's the way, way, way better version of Rudy. The talented version, some would say.
The type of Rudy that beats Georgia Tech without referee interference, if you will.
The reason you beat Georgia Tech.
Also true. So he was walk-on. Then he played special teams. Then he got some defensive snaps. If you guys remember, back to the 2021 National Championship game, in that game-sealing pick six.
Oh yeah.
By Keely Ringler. I'm sure we can all close our eyes and see it very fondly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what a lot of people do not remember about that play?
It was Dan Jackson blocking.
Dan Jackson wearing 47, completely laying out one of their guys trying to make a tackle.
Mm.
And I say 47 as an emphasis of he was still a walk-on playing in a national title game in the college football playoff with NIL actually on the table.
Yeah.
Laying someone out to win that game.
Beautiful.
He started the 2022 season as a walk-on. He got a scholarship through NIL or an actual scholarship during that season. This man knocked himself out making a hit in the Florida game.
That's a damn good dog if I've ever heard one.
Yep. And then he plays alongside players that you guys may have heard of. Players that have actually already been drafted, specifically in the first round. Malachi Starks and Javon Bullard. He was the third safety in that group.
Mm.
In the 2022... Nope. Malachi Starks didn't play 2022. Anyways.
No, he did. That was the first. No, that was his first.
Yeah. No, you're right. So 2022. Dan Jackson was third safety, corner, nickel type player in that 2022 title season. where he just hurt people's souls
Hmm.
for 15 games. And then what happens in 2025? Dan Jackson comes back. He didn't have to come back. He probably would have been drafted in the same place, if not a little bit better last year. He came back to the University of Georgia. He played his ass off all year. Gets a little banged up. And he proceeds to get drafted to the absolute best team that Dirty Dan could have gone to in the
Yes.
entirety of the 32 teams in the NFL. And I say that for one specific reason. Because
Not
as
pissing off.
Georgia fans, we have seen this. And especially with the type of coach Dan Campbell is. Dan Campbell can grab Dan Jackson by the face mask, headbutt him, and I mean Dan Campbell with no helmet on, so his face is bleeding by this point, because that's the kind of person he is. His face is bleeding. It's the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. I'm just trying to get Mike a little chubbed up here. It's fourth quarter of the Super
Too late.
Bowl. The Lions have a 3-point lead. And Dan Campbell headbutts Dan Jackson before they go out on the field, and he says, I need you to hit Patrick Mahomes the hardest anyone has ever been hit, regardless of the play. Dan Jackson will die on that football field before he doesn't hit Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely.
That's the kind
Let's
of player
go.
that Dan Campbell needs,
Hmm.
but that's also the kind of player that the NFL needs. Because we
Hmm.
don't have Eric Reeds. We don't have Antonio Cromarties. We don't have Dawkins. We don't have
Yeah.
Palamalus. Shout out anybody that knows that story. We don't have the type of safeties that will put injuring people and breaking bones over their own health and safety. And we need it.
It was incredible watching what was it yesterday and stuff like that, watching Lions fans like see like highlight tapes of Dan Jackson's the first like, oh, they couldn't get a pass rusher. I'm like, again, it's the seventh round. You're taking, lottery tickets at this
It's like,
point.
all
But
right, watch these highlights of
yeah,
Dan
they're like,
Jackson, who
yeah,
you just picked up in the seventh round, and then complain, oh, wait, you're not capable of doing it.
yeah. Yeah, they got excited. They're ready for it. So I'm excited. May have to buy a Dan Jackson jersey.
Honestly, the Black Lions jersey, if I could find a Dan Jackson Black Lions jersey, I'd wear it.
It's a dope jersey.
Especially if he gets 17 on defense.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
It would be tough to not wear that jersey.
Yeah.
And then the last player drafted for the University of Georgia, we have Dominic Lovett. He was picked by the Lions, 244th overall, close to the end of the seventh round. I think that they can use him well. And, you know, you may or may not be upset with this. Until they change the surface of their home field, there's going to be a lot of injuries. You
Fair.
need a wide receiver like Dominic Lovett on the scout team to be able to call up in 5 minutes on a Tuesday in October to be like, hey man, you're a starting slot receiver now. Go make plays.
I saw some people describing him as like an Amon-Ra St. Brown type. I don't see that. I mean, definitely more of a
He's
slot guy. He
so
just doesn't catch as well as,
I
as
don't
Amon-Ra.
hate the play
Yeah.
style. So
Yeah.
so I think they have a very similar play style because Amon Ra is not the type of wide receiver that's going to. All right, so this may be too much of a deep cut for some people that listen to the show. Amon Ra and Devontae Adams are very similar to the way they run routes. They're very similar to the way they line up. Very similar to the way they do 90% of the wide receiver position. Amon Ra catches the ball closer to his body.
Yeah.
Devontae is a high point catcher.
Mhm.
That is, to me, the biggest difference between those two players. Depending on the style of offense, the type of quarterback you have, That depends on which one's better. I think Devontae is somewhere in between. I don't
Mm,
think Devontae is laying out, catching a pass like this. I don't think Devontae is going to catch a pass like this. I think Devontae's here.
yeah.
Or Dominic. Not Devontae. Dominic. I apologize. But no, I think Dominic's here and not here or here. And if you're not watching the NFL, sorry. Or if you're not watching the YouTube, sorry. He's like a 50-50. His arms need to be partially extended kind of guy to make a catch. It's why he struggled at times at Georgia. It's why he struggled at times at Mizzou. It's why I think he's going to struggle at times in the NFL. But if he can adjust one way or the other, or get a little bit better at both, I think Dominic can find his way into the NFL, into a starting lineup. But the way he catches footballs does not necessarily mesh with most offenses.
Yeah. Again, it's worth taking a flyer on for sure. I was kind of shocked at it, but then again, you're always looking for something
Yeah.
in that spot. So
You want to go through the undrafted free agents?
yeah, and there's one there that I can add in a second, or I'll add first. Uh, Ben Jurasic actually signed with Minnesota, I believe, last sometime
He did.
yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I just didn't see him on anything, but he signed with Minnesota. Chaz Chambliss also signed with the Vikings, so just staying north there. Friend of the show, Nazir Stackhouse joins Warren Brinson in Green Bay, so just teamed it up again. So like their first version of the Philly defensive line, actually even more so because they have more dogs there, so that's cool. See how well that lasts. And Xavier Truss, sorry, drop my microphone. Xavier Truss signs with Denver. I don't know if it's just a mini camp deal or just an undrafted free agent, maybe a little bit longer term, not sure, but he's off to Denver to play with Bo Nix, hopefully. And then I know I think Jackson Meeks I think he signed an undrafted deal with Detroit as well. I know he was at Syracuse last year. And then Jamon Dumas-Johnson, Pop, also signed with Green Bay. So,
Yeah.
oh, good. I mean, everybody is getting at least a look, so that's good.
Yeah. No, I really think, as far as anyone that is upset that we're talking about, Pop or Jackson Meeks, for them leaving Georgia, first off, touch grass. Second,
Yeah,
Jackson Meeks stayed for 3 years before he ever even thought about leaving.
yeah,
And then Pop, once again, had he not gotten hurt, he'd have been in the NFL last year
right.
instead of this year. So we're just going to skip over that after
And,
addressing it.
and definitely drafted and not an undrafted free agent for sure if you would have stayed healthy last year.
For real. I do really like Pop in the Green Bay defense, especially because of how big the drop off was after they didn't re-sign Devondre Campbell last year.
Mm.
That's as a Green Bay adjacent fan. I still do not call myself a Green Bay fan. Getting
You're
closer.
You're an observer.
I'm an observer with a soft spot.
Okay.
I you know, if you're new to the show, I used to be a big Green Bay fan, like on the opposite side of the camera from where we're sitting right now. I have multiple signed Green Bay jerseys, right? From the time I was 4 years old until about 3 years ago, I was a big Green Bay fan. And then I decided that I would rather watch college football than focus on a team on Sunday that showed no desire to win football games.
As a Lions fan, I love that assessment of the Packers. I hope that continues to happen for a very long
Well,
time.
the problem is last year they started showing a desire to win football games
Yeah.
by the way they drafted and the way they signed players. And then this year, what do? They signed their first wide receiver of the 21st, or they drafted their first wide receiver of the 21st century in the first round. And it just happened to be the wide receiver that I think was the second best in the draft. and he was taken as fourth wide receiver in the draft.
Hmm.
And it's like, yep, all right. If this is the hokey pokey, you about got me turned around, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I'm still hesitant. You know, like I'm covering my eyes and I got one hand and one foot back in. I'm almost there. I
Just
still
that.
do
Just
have a Clay Matthews and Aaron Rodgers jersey in the garage ready to go.
there you go. At least. Oh shoot. I was gonna say. Oh, at least the Bears didn't really kill it with the playoff or with their draft. Taking Colson Loveland 10 overall is wild to me. I love Colson Loveland. No.
Do you?
So glad.
Do you, or do you just like think he's the best guy? He's the best wide receiver that Michigan could have had last year.
He definitely was. No, I mean they didn't have anybody to get him the ball, and then he got hurt and all that. But
Okay,
he was the best receiver. He was the best receiver on the national championship team.
all right, Colston Loveland, or the idea of Oscar Delp.
Ooh.
Like with what
Yeah,
we saw of Oscar Delp when Brock Bowers was still like the Florida catch version of Oscar Delp
yeah.
or Colston Loveland.
The idea of a fully developed Oscar Delp, I would take in a heartbeat.
Is the fully developed Oscar Delp a 10th overall pick?
No, probably not.
I That's it. So the Bears still suck.
Yeah.
Um,
At least
they're
you know what
awful.
I
They don't know how to draft. They don't know how to develop. They don't know how to do anything but paint nails and have pillow fights at this point, thanks to
I
Caleb Williams.
I'm just glad they didn't they didn't trade up or somehow land Ashton Genty. That would have been not fun.
I, you know what? I called it what on Wednesday, our private group chat. I said somebody said something about Ashton Genty, and I said that man is a Jaguar or a Raider.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought the Raiders were going to be the first choice there, and obviously that ended up happening. But Jacksonville trading everything that they did for Travis Hunter, to me,
Is
it seems steep.
wild for a team that's like an offensive tackle and wide receiver away from competing.
Yeah, maybe they thought he could play both of those instead of corner and receiver.
Yeah. A 5'8" dude that his favorite position is the cuck chair is definitely gonna get you to the Super Bowl. We got all right. Congrats, dude.
You know
And the
what?
fact that the city of Jacksonville tried to claim him immediately afterward is like, you know what? You can have him. Like
Yeah,
we're not gonna fight you.
yeah. You know what? He's a semi Savannah connected kid, though.
He's Savannah adjacent. One of his
Yeah.
parents still lives here.
Yep.
One of his parents was let out of jail from Gwinnett County to go to the draft.
Yeah.
And then Jacksonville claimed him and the chair he
Come
came
tell
in
you
on.
I wrote in on.
Yeah, the chair he came on. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna
Or so, well, somebody else came
we're just
on,
gonna
yeah.
send Travis in that crusty chair back to Jacksonville and let him have at it.
I'm sure there's plenty of people that will let him sit in that chair, I'm sure.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, good for you. Honestly,
Yeah.
the
It's better that you
internet
don't.
has not destroyed your brain yet. But if you want to know, you don't.
Yeah, don't search Travis Hunter Cup chair.
Uh,
So
all right. We're getting back into it. I'm not sure. Like I said, this Thursday is my wife's birthday. I'm not sure if we're going to be here this Thursday. If I can convince one of these guys to record earlier in the week and put it out on Thursday, that would be awesome. But they both have lives, so we'll see. But outside of that, Mike and I will be back on next Sunday. Hopefully, if I don't get pulled into more birthday shit, we'll see. Follow us on social media, and as always, remember there's nothing finer in the land
I'm a Jungle Knox's Georgia fan.